welcome back to another lesson. My name is Quincy Davis. Thank you so much for tuning in, especially to those who are new. Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this lesson, press that like button and let me know. And I would really love it if you consider subscribing, because I put out a lot of lessons that I think you'll find helpful. And I also really love it when you leave comments. I love hearing from everybody, even the haters. There are lots of cats out there who like to troll, not just me, but they troll different channels. And it's all good. Bring it on. I love hearing from you. I like getting feedback. And I respond to everybody. So let me know what you thought of the video down below. But we're going to go ahead and get into this lesson. Are you guys ready? Are you really ready? This has become a dying art for drummers. I swear it has, and I'm going to get into it in a second, but not before I say, let's. Ooh, that was a good wind-up. All right, so what am I talking about when I say this has become a dying art for drummers? I was kind of demonstrating it. Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Soloing on the snare drum, playing the snare drum. Now, of course, we all play the snare drum, but we don't all play the snare drum, if you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about really making a musical, soloistic, impactful, meaningful, interesting, cool sounding, hip, right? Solo just on the snare drum. And it's something that you could have heard, you could hear Sid Catlett doing, Chick Webb, all the great masters, Philly Joe Jones, Gene Krupa, Mel Lewis, Joe Jones, Papa Joe Jones, Jimmy Cobb, Lewis Nash, right? Kenny Washington, all the great masters, Gregory Hutchinson, so many of them really focus their soloing on the snare drum. And they think about this, I think this is kind of a different way of thinking about the kit compared to many drummers. Many drummers think about soloing out, in. In other words, toms first, and then snare drum these days. It's more about blah, 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 blah. But thinking about the snare drum out will change completely how you solo. So all the drummers that I mentioned, a lot of their ideas start on the snare drum or are centered around the snare drum. Obviously, there's times when that's not the case. But this is kind of the foundation of jazz soloing, right? On the kit. So instead of which is cool. That sounds fine. I'm not saying that doesn't sound good, but that can also hang up a lot of drummers because they're getting away from just playing quality snare drum, which affects your sound if you don't have your snare drum playing together. So instead of thinking like that, now I'm going to sprinkle some tom notes in there. Right? So I'm sprinkling them, I'm throwing them in there, and maybe there'll be moments where I'm playing more toms. Like you hear Max Roach, and he's playing all around the kit, right? But he was also a timpanist, so he thinks more like this, more evenly with all the drums, or he was a timpanist. So that's what we're going to be working on, and I have a couple different strategies or ways you can work on it, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is take your left hand or take your dominant hand, whatever hand that is, take it away. Take your weak hand, take your weak hand away and leave your dominant hand on the snare drum, okay? And we're just going to play melodic ideas. We're going to first deal with playing melodically on the snare drum because that's something that a lot of drummers just don't do. They don't think about playing the snare drum melodically. So we're going to do that. So just create melodies, create phrases, motifs, themes, Repeat ideas. This is how you start to get in the mindset of playing melodically. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And don't try to play too complicated or complex rhythms. It's just, you just have one hand. So I'm not expecting you to go with one hand. We're just dealing with single notes. Stay away from different textures. This is forcing you to address the quality of your rhythms, not the quality of your creativity, but the quality of your rhythm. Right? When you're just playing single notes in the center of the snare drum. I saw that back there. Make sure you're in the center. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah. Right? Repetition. Okay. So sometimes I created a shorter phrase, sometimes I create a longer phrase. But you clearly, and I know it because I was willing it. I was playing it with intent that you could feel and hear the phrasing. I wanted you to hear the melodies. Okay? And of course, we're not dealing with tones like a piano or a horn. So we have to be very clear on what notes we want to pop out. And you notice when I play in general, and all the great drummers I was talking about, it's the accents. Remember, it's the accents that are creating a melodic, a rhythmic melody, right? We don't have tones. So it's not a tonal melody, it's a rhythmic melody, okay? Now we're going to add the left hand, but stay in that same mindset. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm calling myself stupid. Don't be calling me out, haters. No, you can call me out. Bring it. I'm ready for you. I'm ready. Here we go. 1, 2, 2 hands, simple ideas. Simple ideas. Simple ideas. I kind of made a mistake at the beginning because I was starting to introduce rudiments. We're going to get to rudiments in a second. Simple ideas, clear, cool, memorable, rhythmic melodies. That's what we're working on. Okay? And we're not even dealing with these toms yet, right? We're not going to deal with them. I want to focus on this snare drum because playing the snare drum has become a lost, dying art for drummers. I say it, and I really believe that. I don't hear enough good snare drum playing. Okay. You guys ready for the next step? We're going to add the idea of playing rudiments. Okay? So we have melody. This is the problem usually. We have melody. We have rudiments. And they're in two different corners. And rarely, or I've found that many drummers have a challenge or have a issue. It's really hard for them to marry the two. They're either playing real melodic, simple ideas, or they're playing really choppy and they're playing rudimental, real technical. But what about doing this? And that's what I want to work on. So now we're just going to be thinking about rudiments, okay? Nothing special, just rudiments. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes? You with me? Okay, so, and it's not that that doesn't sound good. However, when you hear somebody like, and I think about Philly Joe Jones, the way he used rudiments was, of course, he's not always swinging. I want to say this. Just because we're playing swing, we're playing in a swing context. Doesn't mean all of our eighth notes have to swing. It doesn't mean they can't swing, but a lot of times to really access some of the rudiments that we're used to playing, most of them, if they involve 16th notes or 8th notes, they're played straight, right? So if we play flam taps, they're straight. It's rare we're going to go. Not saying you can't, But as opposed to, you can play it straight, and that's how Philly Joe would play it, and it sounds great, right? Instead of playing eighth notes that are, okay? So don't always think that you have to swing your eighth notes, because that's not the case, actually. And it should open up things knowing that you can actually play them straight against the swing. Okay, so let's do the same thing, but now we're going to try to create phrases and add syncopation. Say it with me. Syncopation. Shon. Yeah, that's what I mispronounced it. Syncopation. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So I'm starting to get a little more interesting, a little more jagged, and I'm trying to be creative, creating melodies using syncopation and creating phrases. Now let me just I'm just going to kind of play with these things in mind. Let's see how it sounds. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah. Ah. Okay, so there's a whole, was that 16 measures or 32? Probably 16 measures. One of those, 16 or 32 measures, of an idea or of soloing in a melodic, yet technical, yet not overly technical that it gets in the way of the melody. I'm always thinking about those main melodies that I was playing earlier with just one hand. And I'm just adding or embellishing those melodies, right? And adding to them using rudiments. And that's it, okay? And so if you're thinking like this when you add the rest of the kit, it's going to make everything you play sound a lot fuller. And it's going to have that just traditional sound embedded in what you play, even if you start playing more toms, a lot more toms. Just thinking about the kit more snare drum out rather than toms to the snare drum is going to change everything for you. So now I'm going to involve the rest of the kit, and let's just see what happens. Okay? Let's change the tempo. Here we go. 1, 2, Simple ideas. Okay. So I hope that helps you understand kind of how to think, first of all, snare drum, and how to think melodically, combining melody or the melodic approach to and combining the rudimental technical approach. I hope that really helps you. And it's really, truly how I think about soloing, because I completely come out of the tradition of all those greats that that I mentioned. And it's more of the modern sound that gets me into, when I start doing that, now I'm starting to think less traditional. But if we're trying to really get that traditional sound, you got to deal with that snare drum. And if this is kicking your butt, that means that you got to back up way back and just deal with those dang rudiments. Rudiments alone will always kick everybody's butts, right? This is something that I'm always working on, just getting more consistent and cleaner with my rudiments, dealing with Wilcoxon and Pratt and all those different rudimental solos that have really helped me through the years. So I really strongly advise you to keep on working on your rudiments and then see if you can try to apply them in this setting, combining them with more of the melodic approach. Okay? So that is the lesson. I hope this helps. Let me know what you thought. Tell me if you feel comfortable just soloing on the snare drum or if I'm going to have to send the police to you. All right, I'm just going to play out to the end of this thing. See you next time, guys. Take care. Peace.